Touma. She's the communications director for UNRWA, the UN agency for Palestinian refugees. She joins us now from Amman and Jordan. Juliette, just talking a little more about the looting of these warehouses, your warehouses. What sort of scale are we talking about here, and what's the situation now with some of the other distribution sites?
I don't have that level of information, and what is really important about what happened yesterday is the level of despair and frustration that people feel that led them to break into the UNRWA warehouses. It is a worrying sign of a beginning of a fall of civil order in Gaza, but it's equally the highest levels of despair among the people after 3 weeks of very tight siege and a very, very vicious war.
Juliette, we've just been hearing there from our correspondent Hani about how anxious people have been, especially during the communications blackout over the last couple of days, not knowing how or where to access supplies or when they would receive them. How much did that contribute to this and as you say, this disintegration of civil order?
I think the cuts that we've seen in Gaza of communications, including internet and other types of cuts, have isolated the people of Gaza from their families within the Gaza Strip, but also from the rest of the world. It also isolated us as UNRWA because we could not have a stable line of contact, and also interrupted our humanitarian operations.
Well, speaking of interruptions to your operation, I know only a tiny proportion of what's needed in terms of aid has actually made it into the Strip. How quickly is it being distributed? I know you've also lost many of your staff there. I'm so sorry. I know that must be very difficult on multiple levels, but it also has consequences on what you can do.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We have, as of this morning, the total number of colleagues who have been killed in the war in Gaza since the 7th of October, only since the 7th of October, only in this war, is 59. And that is believed to be the highest number of UN people killed in such a short span of time in any conflict around the world. These were teachers, school principals, engineers, one doctor, very many support staff who are the backbone of our operation in Gaza. So many challenges, yes, also because our staff themselves have been impacted and have been displaced. When we get those very, very little supplies that are coming on these trucks, we do everything possible to pick them up from the borders, even if it's nighttime, even if airstrikes are ongoing, and we put them in the warehouse and then start the distribution as soon as we can. But I really want to say that these trucks are not enough. I mean, we had just over 80 trucks in more than a week. I mean, it's nothing. So Gaza before the war used to get every single day 500 trucks. Now we have 84 in 1 week. It's nothing.
Well, Juliette, I know one of the strictest conditions that the Israelis put on aid in order to even allow it to enter Gaza was that it would not be given to Hamas, that Hamas would have no access. Is there a concern that the looting of warehouses now might give Israel any kind of reason to restrict aid, citing security reasons?
I don't know. I don't know. What I do know is that we need more supplies, that people in Gaza, civilians in Gaza need more supplies, that UNRWA needs more supplies. It needs fuel as well for us to be able to continue our humanitarian operation. Supplies are running out, and we need more supplies, and we need those convoys to have more trucks on them and to have fuel on them and to be more frequent. Yesterday, because of the communications breakdown, we could not coordinate for the convoy. So there was no convoy yesterday into the Gaza Strip.
Juliette, you mentioned their fuel. Your agency was warning earlier this week that if you received no fuel, you would have had to halt your operations in Gaza. I believe that was on Wednesday night. So what's the situation now?
We have rationed the use of fuel. We continue to call for fuel, and we continue to call for fuel to be included as part of the humanitarian convoys that are being sent into Gaza.
Juliette Touma there, the communications director for UNRWA, the UN agency for Palestinian refugees. Thank you so much for joining us on Al Jazeera. Juliette, thank you for your time, and we wish you all the best with your work.